Hello, friends. This is Christopher Davis-Shannon, and today we're actually not going very far. We're going about 45 miles to the west of me to Bluebell, Pennsylvania, to talk to the wonderful Rachel Swanky Manke. Rachel, how you doing today?
Fabulous.
Hey, you can't put it in your Zoom username if you don't want me to say it as
Oh,
soon as I say it.
it's stuck.
So before we talk about nicknames, which are very important, would you mind just kicking us off with a tune?
Oh, sure.
This song is a song that I wrote called Sing as the Nightingale, and it has a chorus that people like to sing along to. So I thought I'd show you the chorus and then jump into the song. So this is how it goes. Sing as the nightingale, sing while we may. Sing as the nightingale day after day. For nothing is promised and little is true, but that you sing for me and that I sing for you. Okay? The nightingale perches on her tiny frame, sends her song up to heaven and then back again. But where's her beginning and where is her end? And what good do riches lend in the end? What right have we then to glory? For how soon ends our story? What good then is gold? What good then is might? What is it that is worth the fight? So sing as the nightingale, sing while we may. Sing as the nightingale day after day. For nothing is promised and little is true, but that you sing for me and that I sing for you. Our nightingale sings on as she must, as passes the world from dust unto dust. She watches below as she soars up above, but the only thing that's worth a darn here is love. In this then we have to glory, for love is our story, that we may rejoice and be glad all our days, till one day we all fly away. So sing as the nightingale, sing while we may. Sing as the nightingale day after day. For nothing is promised and little is true, but that you sing for me and that I sing for you. Awake, it is the dawn of the day. The terrors and lions have faded away, and all that I hear is the nightingale's song, which says that the sun will keep rising ere long. In this then we have to glory, for light and life is our story. Together we ward off the cold of the night and rise up to glorious height. So sing as the nightingale, sing while we may. Sing as the nightingale day after day. For nothing is promised and little is true, but that you sing for me and that I sing for you. I sing for you. I sing for you.
So although Rachel just got done playing a beautiful song, we were discussing earlier and would like to discuss now a very important and serious topic in American culture right now, which is cat lawyer.
Cat lawyer. Yep.
Cat lawyer.
Yep.
Cat lawyer has brought me so much joy in the past week. And the worst part about it is I can't even figure out how to get filters on my own Zoom meetings.
No.
And this man that is probably twice my age can figure that out, but not how to take it off.
I want a cat filter. I need a teenager to show it to me or something.
I know. It's a shame. My nieces are like not old enough yet to show me cool technology things, but they just assume that I know them. I don't, because I live in like 1932. So it's not a thing that I do. And speaking of 1932, great year. I wish I had a rotary phone right now. And Pennsylvania, actually, this is a wonderful thing because I harp so much about Roy Smeck on this channel, but I very rarely get to talk to people in Pennsylvania about Roy Smeck, which happens to be where Roy Smeck is from.
Yes, Reading, Pennsylvania.
Which is not terribly far from you, right?
Too far, just due west, right?
Yeah. Have you gone and visited his birthplace?
I have not, but I should. I did live a few blocks from where he lived in Manhattan for about a year or two.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, that's cool. Is that after he passed, I assume?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, he how old was he? He was born in 1900.
Yeah.
He lived into his 90s.
I think it was like 92, 93.
Yeah. Oh, I used to know this on the spot.
I know. I'm not good with remembering numbers at all. It's just not my thing.
He passed before I started playing. That much I know.
Yeah, me too. I was definitely not doing anything musical when Roy Smeck was still alive, unfortunately. So I'm curious, how did you get into Roy Smeck? Is it just because you live down the street?
Yeah. No, so when I started playing uke, I was in college in Rhode Island, and I went into town and plopped down $25 for a cheap uke, and like 2 books that they had. One was Jumpin' Jim, our buddy Jim B. Left, and the other was this Red Roy Smeck book, and I didn't know who the heck he was. And
is that the Roy Smeck ukulele method, the republished one? I have a yellow version of it, if it's the same. Does it have the 100 jazz strokes for ukulele in the back?
I don't remember. I do have a copy of the original 1928 one, though, now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
this was like from the 50s, I think.
Oh, okay. Yeah, he wrote and that's something a lot of people don't know about Smeck, is that he did so many arranging for uke for different publication companies. Like a lot of the chord frames that we see over top, a lot of the popular songs, he's just credited down in the bottom, much like May Sing You Bring as well. Was really known for arranging, and he did a lot of publishing outside of his method books as well.
Well, and Smeck was really good buddies with the actual Mel Bay.
Yeah. It's wild. And that's, I always forget that Mel Bay was a real person and guitar player, because now he's just a book series that we all know in music.
He was just like that beginner method on clarinet that I had in the 4th grade.
Oh, mine too. That's right. I forgot that we're clarinet brethren, which I've gotten back into in the pandemic. I bought myself a new old clarinet because, of course, I can't have a new one. That would be wrong. I got myself a silver one from like 1920 something. Because I thought I'd be really fancy. It's terrible. I remember why I stopped playing now.
Well, I have my original one still. I have no embouchure whatsoever.
That's been the hardest. My fingers, like I remember everything, but the embouchure I can play for 5 minutes. Yeah, my mother gave away my clarinet to one of her students. I was like, what if I ever wanted to play again? She said, buy a new one.
Now you can get any color you want. And
yeah, right. Sorry, but back to Rhode Island. We deviated here. We're in Rhode Island with a $25 uke, and
Rhode Island.
No matter which Roy Smeck method book.
Yeah. So this was back in 1999. So this is before this new wave of the uke came along. Yeah. It was not that many people playing, not that many people who knew much about the history of the instrument. And there happened to be a half hour from me, Dave Wasser and Sue Abbottson, who were part of the Ukulele Hall of Fame Museum organization. And they lived in Cranston, Rhode Island. They still do. And they had a group of people getting together once a month to just jam, which is common idea to many people who would be watching this now, but it was unique to find at the time.
Uke groups did not exist back then. That is a very new thing.
And Dave and Sue, you would plots at the ukes that they have on their walls. They've got Diaz and Nunes and just everything. So I got an instant education early on about this stuff. And so they were part of the uke expos that happened mostly in New Jersey, and they bounced around a little bit in the Northeast. And so I went to my first uke festival in Montclair, New Jersey.
The NJ Uke Fest, right?
Yeah.
Which where you and I met years later.
Well, no. These were separate events. They were different people running them.
Oh, this was different. NJ.
Oh yeah.
Oh, wow.
Oh yeah. No. This was 2001. This was September in 2001, across the Hudson from New York, and like Byron Yusui, I think, was at that. Brian Tolentino, like all of these Hawaiians had come out for that, and Joel Eckhouse was there performing, and I saw him perform and thought, that's what I got this instrument for. That's the kind of
thing. When you hear that style played for the first time, either you go, that's a kitschy thing that I never want to do, or you're like, that's the coolest thing I've ever seen in the world. And I think for both of us, it was definitely the latter.
Yeah. And for those who don't know, Joel studied directly with Roy. I think he started his lessons the month that I was born.
This is a good lineage, though.
Yeah, because it was, it's like it was meant to be.
Yeah.
So like late 70s into the 80s is when he studied with Roy. He would take the train into Manhattan and study with him, and then he'd do sailboat repair in Western Connecticut in between, because he's a luthier, he's a woodworker. And I took his workshop and I was like, this is really cool. We'll see if I can play this stuff. And I don't know if you heard the lineage there, not the lineage, but the timeline there of September 2001. This was days before the towers went down. And for those of us who are alive now, I realize how long ago that was now.
I know.
I was the kid then.
Yeah.
Now I'm the old lady.
Yeah, I remember sitting in homeroom when that happened. I was still in high school, and like it is, but it is one of those moments. Like when our parents were like JFK was shot, things like that. I feel like it's the same thing. We'll never forget that moment if you were alive. Darn kids, we're so old.
Yeah, so that just inspired me to go, well, because Joel had said, if you ever want to come up for a lesson to Maine, I was living in Rhode Island still at the time, come on up. And I'm like, I'm not going to drive to Maine for a ukulele lesson. But then that all happened. I'm like, maybe I'll drive up to Maine for a ukulele lesson. And we really connected on the same wavelength. It's interesting how that is musically when you find people who are at the same frequency.
Absolutely. Yeah. It's rare.
Yeah. Which it was many years later when I finally got to meet Marcy Marxer, and she and I got to sit down.
Marcy's awesome, isn't she?
Next stuff. Yeah. And it was like, we got to speak that language because we understood it, because we had that same, And she's an absolute love.
Yeah. What an incredible person and player. I mean, she just plays everything with strings. It's mind blowing. And does not take shortcuts, like learns the original tunings and the original styles and plays them correctly. So incredible. But so you go up for this lesson in Maine.
Yeah.
And what happens?
I learned, what's the first one I learned? Bye Bye Blues.
Oh yeah.
Tell me about that, and one or two others. He went through it with me, and then I drove the 5 hours back home.
Did he teach you in the old? Because have you talked to Marcy about when she took lessons with Roy?
A little bit. I'm trying to recall.
She was telling me this story about. I guess it was the first time she went over there. And there was a whole like long protracted thing before this that's hilarious, but I'll leave it out. But she gets there, and his style of teaching was him just sitting in front of her and would play the tune up to speed and stop and be like, it goes like that. Is that, did you actually get it broken down for you, or was it more just, here it is, do what I do?
Yeah, Joel's a bit more down to earth.
Yeah, some of those right hand techniques that Roy used were they're hard to parse out from just watching or listening to someone play, because so much of it seems like it's an illusion as to what's actually going on, and most of it, when you see it slow and broken down, it's not that big of a deal.
Stuff that looks simple is the complicated stuff, and the stuff that looks complicated is really just
absolutely like
misdirection. Yeah.
I see it like with George Formby's stuff. Like everyone wants to know how to play the fan strum, and you're like, it's just a triple stroke with the pinky. It's not actually a thing. It just looks cool. But that's part of it, and that's something that I personally loved about Where's Spec, was like being on the vaudeville circuit and all of that. I think had a huge impact on his playing style, because you got to create these theatrical things, you know, to look cool on stage in front of 500 people. You know, it's not like he was filming YouTube videos and was just like right here, you could see everything going on. I wonder how much that actually impacted the style that came out of it, was the situations that he was forced to play in live, you know.
I think a fair bit, but also that he played all these the other instruments. There's definitely an influence from his tenor banjo playing and his.
No doubt. Yeah.
And if you think about all of the different performers he came across as he was traveling, like, we all pick stuff up from each other, whether we realize it instantly or not.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Or
Because
steal things from other players. I mean, it depends how you want to talk about it.
if you talk about the 12th Street Rag back then, everybody was stealing little licks from each other. Like, there's no like, this is so-and-so's 12th Street Rag. It's like, wee.
Yeah. And now we all have our own versions of 12th Street Rag that we figured out over the years off of other.
I never did it same way twice.
No, me neither.
I knew a handful of turnarounds and different courses of that. And then I got my hands on his Edison record of it.
Ooh, really?
Oh, yes.
Nice.
Oh, yeah. And I play it, which I only played it once because you can ruin it playing it on a regular record player because it's like the Betamax of records.
Yeah.
And there was an extra chorus I hadn't heard before.
Nice. And I believe if it's the recording I'm thinking of, you can actually find it online now. Someone digitized it. I'll have to check it. I'll send it to you later and see if it's the same one or not. You're like, no, I have the only copy and only I can know it.
The only one.
Oh man, learning things off records is fun though. And one of my favorite things about it is that the pitch is never correct. Because it's getting etched into a record and then it's getting pressed, and then like the playing speed is never absolutely perfect. So the pitch is always off. You're trying to play along.
Yeah. I learned something off an old record and I was like, this isn't C sharp. What?
Yeah. Oh, well, the uke tunings on some, there was an Art Fowler tune I was trying to figure out from an old recording. And I realized the reason I couldn't figure out what the heck was going, because you know how you hear like certain voicings for chords, like you know what a C major sounds like on uke, like just our regular like open position C major. It has a very like idiosyncratic sound. And I keep hearing these things and I'm like, I know the voicings he's using, but it makes no sense. And then I realized the uke was tuned in B flat. And it was also off because of the recording, but I was like, oh, he's tuned down a half step, a whole step, you know.
And there's so many like funky tunings that are in 1920s sheet music that is just because they couldn't retool. It was just to save money.
Oh,
Tune it up to this and it'll be in the right key. That's the way your favorite player plays it. Actually, they don't, but.
Yeah, no. And I mean, and I'll say, I mean, I do tune up to E flat even sometimes, because I'm a little bit, but it's because I don't like capos. And if I put in E flat and play in C, like E flat's a good vocal key for me. Mm-hmm. So it works. But yeah, the old sheet music where you're like, oh, you're playing in F? What? How are you not breaking strings all over the place? And plus, what are you supposed to retune for every song that you're going to play throughout the night?
Oh, yeah. You know.
You gotta do the 4B, have like six banjos and just people handing them to you throughout the night. I mean,
that is an approach.
That's when you know you've reached the utmost fame.
Partially one reason why I always travel with two, but
yeah. Well, you do the same as what I do typically, right? You keep one in C6 and one in D6 most of the time. Yeah, I've been doing mostly either D or E flat recently. I've been trying to put everything so I only have to bring one uke with me, and that's mostly because friends keep borrowing my other ukes and I'm out of other ukes.
You know, and there's this wonderful company that we're both acquainted with who sell double back.
Yeah, it's true. It's true. I could just do Ohana.
That's the best thing. One of the best things they ever came out with. It excited me so much because of the two uke.
Yeah, they are so much fun. I love Ohana, actually. We should just give a shout out to Ohana because they're just such a wonderful company. If anyone's looking for a beginner uke or a mid-range uke, like get an Ohana because they're just like fabulous instruments.
You know, this is like, we're friends with them, not for our own benefit, because we actually love them and love what they put out.
Yeah.
When I first picked up one of their instruments, it was so back in the day, when I started playing, you either could buy a used harmony or a vintage Martin,
Yeah.
or get something custom made, and there was not much in between.
Yeah, there were no production instruments back
Yeah.
then, like hardly at all.
And so what you can get for $150, $200 of an Ohana, I picked one up and I was like, this is kind of like a Martin. And it's only that?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
wow.
And I always, like, my beginner students are always like, what should I get? And I'm like, you should get an Ohana and you should buy it from Mim. And I'm going to tell you exactly why, because then you're going to love your instrument. You have a decent uke that's perfectly serviceable and it's set up really well, and you're going to love playing. There's so many people have come to me with like, $60 ukes they got off Amazon.
Yeah.
And you see, you can get an under $100 good uke these days, like a playable good one. But if it just comes from a warehouse in the middle of nowhere and no one's touched it, you're not going to want to play it. And I hate that when people get instruments that just make them not want to play. It makes me sad.
There was one company, I won't name them, that put out an affordable uke for a while that, was very popular to get for kids for whatever programs. And the action was really high, which is one of the most cruel things you can do to a kid's hand.
Oh yeah. Well, and it throws off the intonation too, which really kills me. People are, beginners that are struggling with so many things, like, and my uke always sounds out of tune. And it's usually because the nut's too darn high. And then they're making so much effort to do this. It's like, it just kills me. But we have so many great options now, as long as you know where to get it from. And Ohana also has they recreated my favorite uke, which one day I will have one of the originals, which is the Royce Mac Vita
It's
model.
Vita. It's not Vita.
Is it Vita?
It's Vita.
I thought it was named after Velveeta cheese.
No, it's named after Vitaphone Pictures, which Roy's original clips were from.
Excuse me. I need to go change my whole perspective on life.
That's what the seal
that makes so much
from the logo of the Vitaphone.
Yeah, I'm actually bummed. I guess they couldn't get the license for the actual seals for it because they have slightly different ones. But I've got to play. I was playing in Denver a few years ago, and I'd mentioned it at my workshop in the afternoon. Someone asked me like what my dream uke was, and I was like the Royce Smeck one. And I show up at the concert that night, and this guy had gone home and gotten his, and he was like, "Do you want to play this?"
People have brought them to me because they know I do the Smeck stuff, so I can see them. Yeah,
they're incredible instruments. At least the one I played was like, I would take it over most vintage Martins. It was just so resonant and so light. It was an incredible one. But I'm sure all of them are not.
I don't have the recollection of being infatuated with them, but at the same time, it's rare to have one that has been unblemished, because the way that structure was with the top and the sound holes, they generally cracked.
That makes sense. Yeah. I mean, enough of the old Martins have cracks on them too. So cracks not the end of the world. It's just a very sad day in your life.
It depends on how it cracked and who what its life has been. They're all unicorns. They're all unicorns.
Indeed. Well, before we talk too much about ukes, would you mind playing us another song on preferably a non-cracked uke?
I think I can do that.
Little boy, I'm so blue. Little boy, I'm so blue without you. I miss you in the morning, I miss you at noon, I miss you in the evening, alone beneath the moon. Little boy, I'm so blue. Little boy, and it's all 'cause of you. I'm craving your kiss and the love that I've been missing. Little boy, I'm so blue without you.
So Rachel, what's the first thing you're going to do when the world reopens?
Gonna hug every person I see.
I know, right?
Oh my gosh.
It has been, yeah, it's been the oddest year. And especially because you play a bunch of festivals and all that. And it's great that things have gone online. And I'm so grateful that I've been able to work because of Uke Fest going online. But getting to see people in person, like 500 ukulele players at once is a magical thing in different ways, depending what's happening. Whether everyone's playing at once, that's another question.
Getting warm fuzzies just imagining that at this moment.
Yeah. I'm really hoping by like maybe in the fall, we can start to see some little things popping up, and even like uke groups meeting. I was talking to one of my students about that. She usually goes to a uke group weekly, and missing like that connection. I feel like it's a big thing for people. Like a lot of people in the uke community, and myself included. I mean, this is kind of all I do.
Social.
Yeah, and it's a large part of my social life is music, and that's just gone.
I know, and it's. I mean, this whole thing is cruel in many ways, but one of the cruelest things is that music is taken away from us. You know,
Yeah, but on the other side, there's also this other newfound accessibility of music that I'm really enjoying. I know, just because of live streams, which granted is not at all the same. Like there's certain things I can't watch on a live stream. They just don't work for me. Like seeing a jazz quartet on a live stream is not the same as sitting in a club. Just can't do it. Doesn't work. I need the atmosphere. But being able to watch, especially in the uke world, like seeing so many great players that maybe you would see once a year before, and now you get to see them play once a month if you want, and donate a little bit of money, and learning from other folks as well. So I just always want to try to find the positives. I think there are some good positives for the uke world in this weird time.
I think you're right. And I did Craig and Sarah's first little online, but not so little online.
Yeah. I was in that. I did the first one, the second one. I can't remember which one I was.
Yeah, I remember you were in your kitchen, I think it was.
Yeah.
And that was like
the camera was in a cabinet pointed at me. That was before I had like a true streaming setup.
I always have all these photos of what's on the other side.
You don't want to see the spice rack.
It's spicy. But no, I had no idea how enjoyable that would be. You know, I turned it on the TV, and it felt like I got to spend the whole day visiting with friends I don't get to see too often.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. And I just think there are a lot of positive things with this, and I don't want to like discount them at all, because I've been having fun. We were talking about this before we came on, about just being able to tune into workshops, which is something when you're teaching at festivals is not usually afforded to you, because you're teaching 2 or 3 workshops and you just don't have the time or the brain space to go learn new things when you're there. Mm-hmm. And now I can tune in. And actually you mentioned Brian Tolentino earlier, and he's doing a new thing soon that I'm hoping I'm gonna be able to tune into. He wants to teach like the traditional Hawaiian way of just learning by doing and all that. And I really I've never had an opportunity to do that in my life with that kind of music. And like, that's now available to me in my living room. And that's like, and being able to learn from those great players is incredible. I mean, even if you're a good player already, there's always like 5,000 people that are better than you. And you need to always keep that in mind.
What is it? Oh God, I have this curse where I can't remember quotes and who said them, but there was some player who said
let's make someone up for it though. Let's make something up before we go to. So this was the Tiny Tim. Let's go with Tiny Tim.
No. It was a wonderful human, but no. No, someone who had gotten to an advanced age, and someone asked them why they still practice. They said, because I think I'm finally getting somewhere.
Pablo Casals.
There you go.
That's who it was. That's one of my favorite quotes. Yeah, it was from a like New York Times piece that he was interviewed for towards the end of his life, and he was still practicing like 3-4 hours a day or something. I think it was, I'm starting to see improvement or something of that sort.
And And that's so true. When you meet people who are at the early part of their journey learning and they get so frustrated that they aren't reaching perfection quickly,
Yeah.
you go, no, really, I need to practice. Like, you really, like, I'm not just saying practice just to be a stern person. Like,
Right.
it's important.
Yeah, one of my students a couple weeks ago, we were just wrapping up the lesson and talking at the end, and she looked at me on Zoom, not in person, obviously, but she looked at me and she said, what are you practicing? And I was like, that's the best question I've ever been asked by a student, because and I had a bunch of things that I was working on at the time, but I was like, I just need to remember that, like, you always got to keep pushing and learning new things, because like there's always so much more to do and you don't know everything. And we're still all terrible. Like,
yeah. No, gosh, I screw up every time I play. Just
amen. Yeah, you just gotta,
gosh.
yeah, you screw up and then you just keep going and everyone's happy and everyone's cheering for you and it's great.
Yes, the uke scene, man. That's something that'll be lovely to have.
Yes.
Presence. The warmest audience you can ever play to.
Yeah, I played a Christmas Eve service at my church. I played the 11 o'clock service, but it was a live stream, and I was doing the music. My mother did some music as well, and then it was like 3 other people in there because it was just production for it, and but it was the first time I had heard applause in like a year, and even like 2 people clapping, and you're just like, oh my gosh, I forgot what this is like.
And I played a Christmas Eve service on my baritone because it was supposed to be outside, and I didn't know if anyone could hear me or not.
Mine was supposed to be outside too, and I'm so glad that it snowed or rained. I forget what it did, but it was terrible, and they moved it inside. I was like, thank God. I usually have like a strict 55-degree rule for playing outside. Like, that's as cold as it's going. My fingers don't work after that. For a church, I'll make an exception. But I hate playing in the cold because you can't, like, your fingers freeze. You can't play well in the cold.
Yeah, I can go lower than 55 with that, but
oh, I could. I just don't.
Do you notice in the winter things, no matter what, things are a little more creaky and stiff?
Oh yeah. Well, that's part of getting old,
Well, even early on. Hold up.
Yeah, but seeing the uke community in so many of the chats, like Craig and Sarah's especially, was the first. Like, I had done a couple small things, but when I did theirs, and they had a few thousand people, I think, at different points during that first day logged in on YouTube, and seeing people in the chat and seeing all these names of going, oh, I know you, I've met you. It's like, and it's really heartwarming to see that and see all of it just continue while the entire world's in disarray. The uke players are just still trying to do their own darn thing, and I personally love it.
Yeah.
We're all maniacs.
Yeah. Gosh, Craig and Sarah, they love them.
Yeah.
Loved their music, loved them, and I love how much love they have. It's just lovety love. How much love they have for the community, how much they care about it. I mean, it is their life at the same time.
Like, we were talking about Ohana earlier. When I met Craig and Sarah, I was out in LA for the LA Uke Fest, and I was doing some stuff with Ohana as well. They had brought me out to do it, and they wanted to do a photo shoot and like a little interview and all that. And Craig and Sarah came up just to film it as a favor. Like, just they drove up a day early from San Diego to just photograph a guy they've never met before, because they care about the world. And we need more people like that. I think if everyone was just issued a ukulele at birth, the world would be a better place. Noisier, but better.
They are portable, so.
Yeah, that's true. Well, before we go off too much about how great Craig and Sarah are, and the whole uke world, mind just playing us one final tune?
Oh, I think we could do that.
Rachel, thank you so much for taking the time out of your evening to join me and play us some tunes. And for everyone listening, we'll link to Rachel's songs down below so you can listen to all of her music and download it and support her when the world opens up and all that jazz. And if you wouldn't mind, could you just give us a little bit of exit music?